Tight Flex. We'll be covering another about the joints and the bones. So we're gonna start off with the Faribas joint. Faribas joint is a connective bone with dense Faribas connective tissue that doesn't move. So these right here, Faribas joints here. A Faribas joint is an immovable or largely immovable joint where bones are connected by immovable joints where joints are connected by dense connective tissue where no joint cavities. So the type of connective tissue characterized by high indents of collagen fibers and relative fewer cells. So we're gonna go break down everything. Alright, so we're gonna break down from top to bottom. So we have cartilaginous unit bones unite collagen and don't move very much. So this is this type of bone right here, right here. And this one is the syntenosis joint. Syntenosis joint is here in the knee, and you have the ligaments around it, and you have the bonal joint inside and the fluid inside, and has covered the opposing bone surface and, like ligaments, a joint cavity. A syntenotic joint is a fluid joint, and a series of nerves, fiber, and blood vessels are all in between here. Synovial joints are plain joints, hinge joints, and ball sacks and saddles. So when you're looking at the plain joints, we're going to take the plain joints, we'll look at the joints of the hand. So the hand has few joints. So you got the humerus, the radius, the ulna, and the humerus. Humerus is this. That's the humerus. And you have the, so supination is just showing your hand. And pronation is the outside of the hand. Condyle joint. So the condyle joints is inside the joints. So it's similar to a ball sack. So a ball sack is here. The ball socket, that's what we're gonna call it, right here. This is where the cinyral joint is right here. Saddle joint, the ball socket, and the structures of joints. So when we're looking at all of these joints, try to put everything together. So synerosis is immovable. So it is a very strong enough between two bones and plates. Permanent, slightly movement strong, connected by collagen fibers. So they have fibers in between here, and you have structural and conventional overlay. So fibrous, synerosis, immovable. So immovable. So certain places in the body that are immovable. So you have here that's movable, and you have here that's a little bit, and then you have this is more solid. So that's what it's trying to give to you. And symbiosis is an immovable correlate structure. So we're looking at fibrous, and we're looking at fibrous, symbiosis, immovable, glymosis, immovable, demosis joints, syndiosis, preventing slightly movement member of the forearm and the leg. So basically this is right here is a joint. In between it is syndiosis. So it's the cavity that connects both the bone and the forearm and the leg. It's similar to, so this right here is the radius, and this is the ulna. Radius, ulna, radius, ulna, radius, ulna, radius, ulna, radius, ulna, radius, ulna. Humerus. And syndiosis. So primary, it involves a cartilage and growth plates. So when somebody's growing, they usually have some type of cartilage in between, that's or in the knees. You see here, have cartilage in between the knee processes, and then between these processes, you can find that. So then we go on to the spinal cord. Go into the spinal. We have to the side. We have inside of it is the disc. It's the disc. So this is the spinal. These are TPs. Two sides is TPs. Transverse process. Spinal process. What I like to say, George Foreman, in between. When you have the in between process, let's describe it in between. So the in between process here is George Foreman has holes. So that's what we call it. Vertebral body, superior, inferior, superior, inferior. Superior. Transverse process, TP, SP, spinal process. So a process is usually something that's usually sticking out. So these are all processes. So when the process comes, you have something called the rib cage and the vertebrae here. The rib cage, this, they call it a floating. It connects to the inferior, connecting that bone here, and then you connect it here. So that's where it connects there. And then that inferior bone has a superior on top of it. So superior, inferior connect to create a transverse process. So we'll get deeper into that as I go further into court. This is also inferior, superior, transverse process, spinal. All right. So then we go on to the planes. So the planes, so you have plane joints, intercapsular joints. You have hinge joints. Usually it's the turning, the hinge. And you got derosis. Derosis is medial interloxic joint. And this one is a condylic joint. This one is a saddle joint and a ball socket. So the gross feature, general purpose for the spine is to protect the spinal cord and the nervous root and the movement of the trunk. So this is the spinal movement from here to here. Primary curve. So you have the thoracic and serratic, cervical and lumbar. So thoracic, supine, lumbar, cervical. So the cervical has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thoracic has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Lumbar has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And sacrum has 5 infused ligaments, these, and 3 to 5 infused ligaments for the coccyx. Vertical. So vertical is a dense of the axial transverse ligament. So the transverse ligament, you got the transverse ligament, internal processes, thoracic. So you got C1, C2, C3. There is no disc between C1 and C2. So thoracic. So thoracic usually is where the chest meets. So where the ribs are, it's thoracic. Thoracic is where the ribs are. Lumbar is usually where the lumbar vertebrae is. Lumbar has, so you have in the lumbar, you have this. Start to have this. So in here, you have the transverse process. You have the body. You have super articular process, these two. Superior articular process, these two. The body, the transverse process, these two. The perdiac, right here, the perdiac. The interior process, the spinal process, the body. Those are all the things it's made of. So when you're looking at the sacrum or the coccyx, so the sacrum is here, the lower extremities. So lower extremities from the sacrum are the body first. You have the transverse ridges, these ridges in between, the transverse ridges. And you have inside, you have the interior sacral foramina, inside sacral foramina, and up there is the transverse ridges of the vertebrae infusion. These. So here is the body, the sacral canal, the sacred canal. You have the facet superior process. You have the lateral facilial process. You have the sacrum, and you got the coccyx. So vertebral body. So when you're looking at the vertebral body, which is this, the vertebral body, you got the superior anterior process. You have the vertebrae body. You have the perdix in here. You have right here on this interface here is the articular fallacy, the article fallacy, the transverse process, the interior articular process, the lumen, the superior's process, so you have that. And this is the vertebrae body. Vertebrae body. This is the vertebrae body right here. This is the vertebrae body. And these right here are pedicels. Pedicels. So ped. These are the peds. Call them the peds. And these are transverse processes. Transverse processes. This is inferior article processes. These are inferior article processes. These are superior articular processes. And this one right here, this one is called the lamin. The L-A-M-I-N. Lama right here. Right here. So you're looking at the superior processes and all of that. So everything consists of the cervical, 8, thoracic, 12, lumbar, 5, sacrum, 5, sarcastic, 1. So inside the dish has type 1 collagen fiber that is the primary role of fibrous is to contain the nucleus. So gross features. So posterior, you have a spinal cord inside. You have a spinal cord inside. You have a vertebrae forearm. You have a spinous process. You have the transverse process. You have the intervertebral disc. You have the vertebral arch, the lemma, that which is inside, the pedicle, that's which on the outside corners, and the body is which is around, and spinal cord within the vertebrae canal. So it's the canal within inside. This is the canal inside. So the function is to protect the neutral amount, the borders to vertebrae body, spinal cord, unit 1, ligament 1, inferior ligament 1, new to root, and cerebral spine CF, body vessels. So spinal canal to inferior forearm. So functions: transmit nervous 31 pairs transmit from CNN to PSN, and interior forearm. So what we're looking at here, sometimes inside of it, these little things called intervertebral foramen. So intervertebral foramen are the little hole in the socket in between the vertebral body and the integral disc is a invertebral foramen, and the spinal nerve is something that comes out. The integral notion of neural foramen. Neural foramen is a spinal nerve root, dorsal root, a spinal artery vein 24 to 24 verses in fat. So inside of this has a fallacy joint, a ligament, and a disc right here. So basically, that's it. Week 2, tough, but I'm gonna get through it. Hey.